Hey, everybody. Last week for Sacred Sunday, I asked my friend Pat Kewen to deliver the message that I was inspired to write. I was away at my mother's memorial and celebration of life, so I couldn't be here last week. I wanted to do a recording anyway. I'm going to read the message that I wrote just before I flew out of here, and I think it's an important message to share. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. I normally just channel the message, but since that's already been done, I'm going to just read this to you. So this is an inspired message, and it was for Sunday, June 28th, 2026. The message that has kept repeating itself to me over the last few weeks is: all of our troubles, our fears, our depression, anxiety, and perceived suffering has one cause. All of it boils down to one thing, and that one thing is a case of mistaken identity. If we could pull back the veil for only a moment, we would clearly see that we have planned this whole trip to planet Earth. And we included a good bit of drama to make the trip worthwhile, didn't we, though? There's no point to this thing we call life if we don't grow, and we get lost in the experience. They who guide us want us to wake up, so we will know that we are already free. Let us begin with the very basics. We are stardust, you and I. The physical form you are sitting in right now is made of the same materials that form planets and everything that you see around you. When you think about it, there's only so many ingredients, and yet everything comes from those humble base elements. It's like flour, sugar, eggs, and water. You can make bread or muffins, perhaps a cake or a souffle. Depending on the recipe, you can make hundreds of different things to eat. Not unlike the elements, which are the ingredients of trillions of products we now have on Earth. Your human body is a magnificent creation of systems that began with a single cell. Each cell begins its life identical to other cells until they begin to multiply and specialize. Some cells go on to become organs, some skin cells, others become the eyes or bones. What is directing the cell to morph in this unique way? It's called the miracle of life. Beyond the divine intelligence, behind our physical manifestation, driving all of this chaos in our lives, is our higher self. The one who knows all of this already and has been through numerous versions of human, plant, and animal, all designed by you. Our true identity is immortal and quite ancient. I know you are all already aware of this fact. You all have come quite far already. But your belief and awareness is not stopping you from suffering. Believing that you are immortal is not the same thing as living as if you are immortal. The fearless confidence frees you to live a life you really want instead of the one you think you have to live. It makes you healthier because you refuse to accept anything less. You are not human, you are playing human. The avatar you are wearing will not even look like you once your energy or life force has left it. If you have ever seen a person after they have left the body, it looks empty. There are features you recognize, of course, but the essence of the person is instantly gone. And looking back at your own body after death will give you the feeling like, I'm free. You'll never be more alive than when you're dead. So, how do we live fearlessly? That's the question. How do we set aside our long-held traumas? How exactly can I be happy when I'm in pain? Or when my kids don't talk to me? How can I be confident when I'm short on rent? First of all, take a deep breath. Take 2 more with me. Settle into this moment. Now tell yourself, if this feels good to you, I'm ready. Take another deep breath and say it like you mean it. I'm ready to live a conscious life. Draw a line in the sand. Step across it and say to yourself, that's enough. Let's do something different. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. You've heard this dozens of times, but has it sunk in? If you love what you're getting, keep doing that. If you don't, it's time to change. You have the power to live the life you dream of. We, in this room, are the high vibe tribe. We are influencing the space around us. And just like Mariko said last week, we are raising the vibration all around us. And that fact is raising the vibration of the entire planet. And while we're doing this very important heavy lifting for humanity, we have a responsibility to ourselves to stay healthy so we can stay happily on our path, to stay wealthy so we can help to support others, and to stay wise so we don't get fooled by those who would use us. Of all times we have come to play human, it has all come down to this. We have already saved our world and changed the doomsday prophecies. The great prophets like Nostradamus, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and Harold Camping were reading the energy of the day when they gave their predictions. And things were looking pretty bleak. I must say, humanity was heading for self-destruction. But just like any reading that you get from a psychic or tarot cards, the reader can only tell you what the energy is today. Any thought or action that you take from that moment forward has the potential to change the outcome of that reading. It will change the outcome of the prophecy. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh gosh, the Piscean age nearly killed us all. If we had continued on the path of conquerors and continued to enslave our brothers and sisters and continued to poison ourselves, our world would look very different today. In fact, I believe it was scheduled to be over by now. Hollywood was trying to prepare us. The powers that control the media must be quite confused by now. They must be asking themselves, how can there still be good in the world? Right now, imagine the puzzled look on the faces of the leaders of large groups and small who scheduled a war, who created a disaster, and it fizzled out, or it failed to the bomb failed to detonate, or nobody showed up. Just imagine the plans that have been thwarted. We were on track for worldwide annihilation. Many of us were here in the 60s, and the world was on fire. Y'all, do you remember that? Do you remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated and Bobby Kennedy died, or was assassinated? Do you remember what all of this happened around the Kennedys? The president was killed first. I was living in St. Louis as a child at the time, and the world was on fire. We were not allowed to go downtown in St. Louis. There were burning, cars in the streets, mattresses in the street. There were protests, and they were blocking intersections. It was chaos, and it was scary. And as a child of 9 or 10, I was seeing this on the news every night, and this was wild. We went through quite a bit in the late 60s, just in case you weren't here. Okay, here we go, back here. So, by the 90s, the politicians were talking about useless eaters, overpopulation, and making plans to reduce the population through terrible means. COVID-19 was one of those diabolical plans. We have been used and abused, and yet we rose above the chaos and we saved our world. We haven't healed completely, but we're on our way. I'm just gonna stop right here for just a minute. The end of the world happened in 2020. We will never live in the same world again. Thank goodness. It's time to put all that nonsense behind us. But thank goodness the world will never be the same. We were not going in the right direction. It took 2020, it took COVID-19 and the quarantine of the entire planet for people to evaluate whether they were even happy or not. We had been so busy going to work and saving money and trying to buy a house and trying to get a job and just doing our best to muddle through and just our best to be happy in the world that we were living in. And we got an opportunity through those quarantine and through that time alone that we got to decide if we were happy where we lived, in our marriage, in our relationships, with our job. So many people have moved across the country or left the country. So many people have switched jobs or the way they're doing their job. Maybe they used to commute, now they don't have to commute anymore. We learned during COVID that was unnecessary. We could do Zoom calls and it saved corporation millions of dollars. So we learned a lot through that time. But to be, if we're paying attention, nothing has been the same since. The world has been very different. So I just want to congratulate you on surviving the end of the world, just like Y2K, nothing tragic happened, and just like 2012 and the end of the Mayan calendar. At the end of the Mayan calendar, January came back around. Nothing got destroyed, nothing ended except another year. And so we humans have a tendency to create huge drama around these events. And it's more subtle than that. Life is much more subtle. And I think that what we're seeing doesn't feel very subtle in our world right now. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. And people aren't feeling very good. But others are doing great and thriving, living in heaven. That's me, man. I get to live in this grace and ease each day. I just don't pay attention to what's going on out in the chaos. What I don't know about doesn't bother me one little bit. I am as happy as I can be and doing extremely well. The world is just rolling a red carpet out for me because I expect it to. I ask my guides and angels let's make this easy today. Let's have some grace and ease. Thank you so much for helping me with XYZ. And then XYZ goes pretty darn smoothly. It's when I forget to ask my team around me that I think that Susan Stone has got to be smart enough to do all of this herself. Well, that doesn't work out for me very well. So I really totally depend on those I cannot see around me. Okay, back to the story. So mark my words. There will not be a nuclear war. The ugly truths about world powers, people, and countries, our companies that we loved, are coming out and will be aired for all to see in the next 2 to 3 years. By 2030, we will clearly see the foundation of New Earth. And that's only 3 years away. So, in order for us to be happy, healthy, and wise, we need to see the world as perfectly flawed. Allow the flaws of corruption, greed, violence, and disruption roll off of you harmlessly. Don't take it personally. There is nothing stopping you from living your best life, even under these circumstances. We came to live under these circumstances on purpose and to help the world get through these times with grace and ease. Let us be happy while we wait. If you are still unhappy, unhealthy, unwealthy, and unwise, are you willing to change something? If so, what? How much pain and discomfort can you stand? I, for one, have lost my tolerance for pain and discomfort. I hate the feeling of, oh, do I have enough? You've seen my hostess anxiety in action. I lived with not enoughness growing up. And today I chase those good feelings. I tackle them and I make them mine. It is my choice. I don't have to live in not enoughness. I can have whatever I choose and whatever I can align to. I can decide to be comfortable. We can plan for a healthy future. We can summon the wealth. that will serve to support us and our community. And we all have the power to sit in the driver's seat of our life. If you put someone else in charge, then ask yourself, are they serving you well? If not, it's time to renegotiate or fire them. I know this isn't the first time you're hearing this. Many of you could have written this yourself. I'm not sure how many times I had to hear it before this began to crack open a new reality for me. But I can clearly see I am not where I used to be. And I'm sure the same is true for you. I said all of that to Spirit. They gave me this message to share, and they answered me in this way. There are still people who are being left behind. They are getting frustrated by limitations and manifestations taking too long. They have no idea the incredible impact they are already having on the world. When everyone moves up at the same time, it feels like nobody moved. This is the illusion. You are doing a great job. The angels and ancestors are surrounding you daily in your work and in your home and in your travels. You will see shocking changes very soon, and we want you to be forewarned. Not everyone will greet these changes with excitement. Humans don't really like change, not unless we know already ahead of time that we're going to like it. There is much still unknown, but there is one thing we know for sure, is that you will love your new earth. Be of good cheer. All is well. So I know that many of you are already beyond and past being the victim or being the villain. I can feel my own confidence growing as I spend more time in meditation, as I spend more time quiet and alone, not in isolation, but in solitude. If we don't get quiet, we cannot hear the voices that guide us. And there's a difference between the voice that guides you and the voice that taunts you. If it is saying ugly things to you, you should have done this, you should have done that, oh, that wasn't a good thing. Or, if it's chiding you or shaming you in any way, that is not your higher self. Your higher self is always going to encourage you. It's always going to guide you back to truth. It's always going to tell you what a great job you're doing. And it's the part of you that is still anchored in heaven, that knows what you came here to do. It is the part of you that most of us don't even know who's talking in our head, I'm reading the Book of Knowledge right now, and by the same author that wrote the Four Agreements, Don Ruiz. And it talks about the voice in our head and what a liar it is. And I think that is so important for us to understand, that most of what we hear in our head is old tapes and somebody else's thoughts. It is somebody else's lesson or somebody else's wisdom even. It takes a lot of time in solitude and silence to discern what is actually meant for us. So please encourage others to awaken so they can feel better. Help them to awaken so they know that they are already free. They don't need permission to choose. That is their birthright. With the greatest of gratitude, I serve humanity and beyond. And I just thank you so much for your time. I thank you so much for allowing me to be of service in this way. And I'll see you next month. Be of good cheer. All is well.